Today, I'm feeling a little tired. But I still studied, did some reading, went to the gym. First of all, Happy New Year. I really hope that this year is good to you and good to me as well. And if you have any New Year's resolutions, please let me know. I'd love to hear what you want to achieve this year. It could be even something little. The book I'm reading is The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I'm like 80 pages in. So far, I am really liking it. Yesterday, I got 2 books, which is a lot for me, like to get at once. The 2 books that I got, the first one is 2 books in one, which is pretty cool. The Lost Girl and Can You Keep a Secret by R.L. Stine. R.L. Stine was my favorite author when I was a kid. I think I mentioned it before, but I was really into the horror genre, and then I was really into the historical fiction genre, and that kind of stuck. But I kind of moved away from horror. I'm not exactly sure why, but I picked this up, one, for the sake of nostalgia. I just wanted to read and see what kind of books spoke to me when I was a kid. And I actually started reading a bit of it yesterday, and it was very fast-paced. Like, I really like books that are slow, and books where not that much happens are my current favorite books. So reading something like this and seeing how different my taste is now compared to before has been really interesting, but in a good way. The next book that I got is called Bewilderment. But what really solidified that I wanted this to be the second book I got was that this first line: Theo Byrne is a promising young scientist who has found a way to search for life on other planets dozens of light years away. For now, though, I really need to get back into studying. So I wanted to talk about the things that I've been reading, things that I've been loving, something that I haven't been liking as much, and what I'll be starting today. And so what I've been reading is The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I'm 180 pages in, and I love it. I absolutely love it so far. Basically, in the story, we follow Prince Mishkin, who is a man who returns from Russia after spending some time in an asylum in Switzerland. And even though I haven't spent that much time with him, Mishkin has already become one of my most beloved characters that I've had the honor to experience. How do I even describe him? He's selfless, pure, and when I'm reading this story, I just feel a need to protect him from people particularly, and just the evil of the world. I just want to shield him. And I'm really scared of how this story is going to develop because I honestly don't want anything bad to happen to him. And what I really liked about the Karamazov brothers and what I like here is that the characters just feel so real. They don't feel like they're made up. And that's a quality that I really like in a book. I honestly don't care much about a plot. Like, it is nice to move the story along, but if the characters are flat, then it doesn't matter how brilliant the plot is. And other than Mishkin, there is this one other female character that is really interesting, and I've just been having a lot of fun reading her scenes because I can't grasp what's going on in her head. Another book that I feel like I won't be finishing, even though I read over 50% of, If Cats Disappeared from the World. So I picked it up because of the title. The premise is pretty cool. Essentially, it follows this man. I think he's in his 30s, and basically he gets a diagnosis of a brain tumor one day. And that same day, the devil shows up and he strikes a deal with him. He's like, I will give you 1 extra day to live for each item that you remove entirely from the world. And so that's where the story starts. And I really did like the depiction of the devil in the story as well. But what I didn't like about the story is that it was too direct. It was too straightforward. The problem is that he doesn't leave much to the imagination. Like, there were phrases that just kept on getting repeated. So for me personally, the way that the story was told just wasn't for me. It just wasn't my style. But with that being said, from what I've read, I don't think this is a bad story. I think it just wasn't the right story for me. I would recommend it to people that like these sorts of books. If I could compare it to another book, it would be Before the Coffee Gets Cold. The book that I'll be starting today, hopefully, is this one, Monday's Not Coming. I'll tell you guys what hooked me. This is the story of how my best friend disappeared, how nobody noticed she was gone except me, and how nobody cared until they found her, 1 year later. I know what you're thinking. How can a whole person, a kid, disappear and no one say a word? Like if the sun just up and left one day, you'd think someone would sound an alarm, right? But Ma used to say, not everyone circles the same sun. I never knew what she meant by that until Monday went missing. So that little excerpt is what got me. It's definitely written in a style that's different from what I'm used to picking up. January as a whole was a pretty good reading month. I finished Monday's Not Coming. This story honestly took me by surprise. I'm reluctant to say that it was a beautiful story because it broke my heart and I cried several times while reading this. But I think it's a very important story. I know that it's going to be a story that's going to stay with me for a while. Red flags, not blush red, orange red, wine, or ruby red. No, bloody red flags. Did you see them, Claudia? Did you? Did you see any red flags? That's the question they asked me over and over again, hoping to find answers, hoping to understand what no one could. Signs. Were there any signs Monday was in trouble? Did you see anything out of the ordinary? Anything unusual? No, nothing. In so many words, they called me a liar. That hurt more than losing my best friend. Crisp, striking, vivid. You couldn't miss her. A bullseye in the room, a crackling flame. I saw so much red that it blinded me to any flags. This month, I also discovered a new favorite poem. This is a poem that's honestly been referenced a lot, not just in literature, but also in music. And the reason that I wanted to read it is because Professor Ellen Sachs did a TED Talk on her experience with schizophrenia. That's a talk that I just keep returning to. And her book is called The Center Cannot Hold, and that comes from this poem. I read it, I keep reading it multiple times. I don't remember the last time a poem moved me like this, except for The Hollow Men by T.S. Eliot. But I just feel like this is a poem that at this point in my life I really want to explore because it's making me feel things that I can't entirely explain. So I'm going into February reading The Idiot still and Bewilderment. Bewilderment is a science fiction novel, and I wasn't aware of what's central to the story, which is the scientist's son. But I'm kind of glad that I didn't know about that going in because I'm not sure I would have gotten the book had I known that. But now that I'm reading it, I'm really intrigued. The writing in the story is beautiful. Like, that's all I can say. I think by the time that I reach the end, I would have read this book twice with the amount of times that I keep going back and rereading parts. And I just feel really touched by it.